boy DJ Kaz is back here exclusively to PWFEmpire.com, the NXT Rundown. Tonight, we had the United Kingdom guys, Mustache Mountain, in action against the Undisputed Era's Red Dragon, or at least that's what I like to call him. And of course, Adam Cole is out there ringside. Can't wait to talk about that. And also, for the first time since his NXT debut, Aleister Black actually spoke to the NXT universe for the first time, or so we think. You guys may have noticed, I'm not usually my anime itself. I'm kind of toning it down a bit. It's just been a long day of work. I want to get through this rundown because there's a lot I want to get to, and I'm going to get to it tonight here on my NXT Rundown. And of course, as usual, we have Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Percy Watson on commentary. And of course, our first in-ring match of the night was Jarek Gargano, Johnny wrestling going one-on-one with Tino Sabatelli. Of course, this was a challenge made by Sabatelli from last week after Gargano had defeated Riddick Moss. I'll be honest with you, I was very interested to see, since Tino Sabatelli was going to be in the singles role, because this was once again a guy who has been trying to find his footing. And of course, if you guys out there, Tino Sabatelli, he was on recent episodes of Breaking Ground, which is one of my favorite WWE series shows on the network to go back and watch. He was definitely very vocal on told on how he needed to work on his moveset in the ring. I did notice it when he was taunting Gargano when he had pushed him to the ropes and he did that beautiful drop kick. He's definitely got much better in the ring, but I can see why people flack on because he doesn't necessarily get the Baron Corbin treatment, but you can tell the crowd's just we know you're from the NFL, which is why we know you can't wrestle, which I think is a little ridiculous. Now, I will say, they did kind of make him look very dumb in a sense when he caught Gargano with a beautiful running power slam when Gargano springboard from the top rope instead of going for the cover. Normally like that you would anticipate the cover, so there's still a bit of flaws there. I don't know if that was by design, but this match was pretty much short and sweet and it did what it needed to do. Of course, Johnny Gargano got the win. Not really much to talk about with his development of him psyching himself out and not really knowing who he is, but I thought the match did what it needed to do, but I was impressed with Tino Sabatelli. And of course, William Regal, he is backstage, and of course, he's interrupted by Roderick Strong, continuing the continuity from when he defeated Bobby Roode in his farewell match. He was talking on how after he beat Bobby Roode, he was going to move on to McIntyre, and now we know in 2 weeks on NXT television, it will be Roderick Strong versus Drew McIntyre for the NXT Championship. I'm fine with this move because we're such a long ways away from NXT TakeOver Houston, which is in November, so I'm fine with them doing this right here. We then, of course, get another recap from Asuka's farewell from 2 weeks ago on NXT, and of course, right now the NXT Women's Championship is up in a state of abeyance. It is vacant. We already know one challenger that will be battling for the title when we get to Houston, and that's Kairi Sane, of course, the winner of the Mae Young Classic. And we get a bit of an inset promo from Sonya Deville, and I will say this though, I applaud the effort, but I honestly did not think it was really that good. She just really didn't sound convincing. And honestly, when you had a champion like Asuka, could anybody really sound convincing? When you talk about if I was in the ring with Asuka, I would have been the one to beat her for that title. So yeah, not really too impressed with that. And of course, speaking of women's division action, of course we got it. It was up next. It was one Lacey Evans versus Bianca Belair. Of course, these are two women that were featured in the Mae Young Classic. Mainly Bianca Belair, who is pretty much, from what for research I've gathered, is pretty much a performance center-esque prototype. But honestly, from what I saw in this match and from what I saw in her match against Kairi Sane, she definitely has a bright future. I'm glad that they're taking the women that they use in the Mae Young Classic and they're putting them on NXT because, hey, if you got the women, you need to use them. And I also was very impressed, not just with Bianca, but I was very impressed with Lacey Evans. We've seen her on NXT TV before, but it's she's mainly been in squash matches where she's the one getting squashed. And as we saw in this match, she can actually go very well. I think there was at one point she did I think Bianca tried to do a cartwheel or something, and I think it was Lacey Evans who kicked her right in the knee to stop it. So yeah, she definitely knows her stuff, especially when you have Jim Ross. You're using the Jim Ross reference with Lacey Evans. But yeah, I thought this match was actually very good for what it was for the most part. Of course, Bianca Belair with the win. You can definitely tell that they're going to use her for something. I wouldn't be surprised if they used her for the Fatal 4-Way when we get to NXT TakeOver Houston, but Liked what I saw from both these women this week. Of course, up next, we are graced by the presence of one Aleister Black, who actually speaks for the first time, who made his debut in NXT TakeOver Orlando. I believe it was like 6 months ago, and we're just now hearing him talk. I would say it's kind of late to do this kind of thing, but here's the thing: they've been booking him so well, like they've really put him in a Mystique kind of way, Undertaker like that I'm completely fine with what they did. Plus, it got me very intrigued to what he was gonna say, and then like he was saying on how he wore all those tattoos for 15 years and how it's led him here to NXT, and as he was talking to how like he knows what he has to do. He gets interrupted by one Velveteen Dream, who it's been a while since he's been on NXT TV, people, but he interrupts Aleister Black. I actually thought Velveteen Dream got a very good promo right here. The thing is, I'll give this dude this, like he is very committed to his character, and that's something that I can really appreciate. Velveteen Dream says he doesn't see scars. He thinks that he knows Aleister Black is a heart. He just thinks it's in the wrong place. And then all of a sudden, Aleister Black kicks Velveteen's hand. And I thought this was just fantastic. You have Aleister just crisscross in the center of the ring like he always does. And then you have the Velveteen Dream just slow and methodically just look like he's about to crawl towards him, but then he just backs away with his presence. I really have no way to describe it. Either way, I actually thought this was a very, very good start. I'm actually entertained to see where these guys are going to go from here, because this is a situation where you have two guys who have not been pinned yet. So it's a situation where they got to be careful, because it's like once that one loses, it's like, what are you going to do with the other? But yeah, I actually thought that this was very good, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Of course, up next on action here for NXT, it was Noe Jose. He went one-on-one with his arch rival and Lars Sullivan. Of course, Lars Sullivan, you guys know what I've been saying about him in recent weeks. All I've been getting is Snitsky-like vibes from him every time I see him, because it really does bring to full like what they used to think of, like how they used to book big guys back in like the mid days, like pretty much like the early days of this aggression. Now we had guys like Snitsky, man, who else was it? Oh, Rene Dupree. Like, there's a lot of big guys that they want to push. Oh, Nathan Jones too. Like, a lot of big guys they tried to push, and this push really reminds me of what Lars Sullivan is doing. So, I mean, honestly, I don't like when you do squash matches when one of the guys looks like he could legit win in like a fight. But I get Lars Sullivan is the story here, so Lars Sullivan got the win. Hopefully, Noe Jose can rebound from something, because I just don't like the fact that they used him as the sacrificial lamb. Of course, it's main event time here on NXT. It was tag team match, and of course, 2/3 of the Undisputed Era, which they need to work on that name. Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, not as Red Dragon, but they took on Tyler Bate and Trent Seven. You guys know my love for tag team wrestling. Of course, I know Red Dragon, former multi-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Champions, multi-time Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. These guys are felt gold, and they know what to do. I gotta be honest with you, like, I thought this match was very good, but it's like the crowd really wasn't reacting to most of this stuff. I am so shocked that we did not get like a "this is awesome," because we got to see the UK guys take on Red Dragon from a Ring of Honor, which is absolutely insane to me, which I actually thought was very cool. But I enjoy the match for a while, because you guys know my love for tag team wrestling. And another thing that I noticed about this match is that they really noted Fish and O'Reilly as like they've worked together, but I didn't get like there was like no mention of them being former tag champions or anything like that. No mention of them being like, there's stuff that they've done in Japan. It was like two singles guys being in a tag team match. That part I didn't understand, because Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly are a credible team. And another thing I noticed throughout their matches, what I thought was good, you can definitely tell they've kind of like fallen to that WWE formulaic style of tag team action where one guy sells and it's like you're just working on the body part. Because if you look at Red Dragon's matches in Ring of Honor, like they're very fluent, like they're always quick paced action. So it's like I don't know like what's up with that, but that's around the point. But again, like I thought, like I said, I thought it was a very good main event match. Again, it really kind of sucks that we only get to see these UK guys like very so often. So hopefully this is. I know this ain't the last we see him, but on interesting note, Drew McIntyre came out and it looked like he was going to take the fight to CFO. I'm just gonna call him that. And for some reason, now I didn't think that this made sense because if you're a 3-man team, why in the world are you backing down against one guy? That part I just really didn't understand. Like that's just logic to me. But when they back up and they're literally about to go back, Sanity, of course, they're the current NXT Tag Team Champions. Of course, that they wanted payback for what happened to them in NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3. Eric Young, Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane just attacked CFO, and along with Drew McIntyre, they just cleaned house. I will say though, not a big fan of like CFO getting their comeuppance so early because they're so new. Like if you really want to like establish like this is their NXT, really like drag this thing out. Like just having the babyfaces like really like get their one up on getting their one up on CFO like already. I mean they did two things wrong. They had them run away when it was a 3-on-1 easily attack, and they had them getting like beat down and then running off with a tail between their legs. Like the way that this group popped out, like I would really want to see them like run through a tear through the entire roster. Now it's like, oh okay, now we gotta get the babyface. So I personally would not have done that. They definitely still have credibility, but it's just like I really would have wanted to drag them out. Overall thoughts on NXT tonight, guys. I thought it was a very enjoyable show for what it was. Definitely watch the main event. Check out Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream Center. But yeah, it was a pretty average episode, but not bad. Alright, everybody, that's it from my end. I am tired, so I'm about to sign off. I am DJ Cass, and I'll be back here next week for the NXT Rundown. See you around. Later days.